destroyer sunk.
Off to a great start.
target. J'ai besoin de données de reconnaissance. Attention, reporting the target's position.
Our victory is in sight. Our victory is in sight.
Engine boost activated. All stations, defend that area. Enemy battleship detected.
Our victory is in sight.
Thought, sir.
Our victory is in sight.
Smoke screen set. Torpedoes direct front. Engine boost deactivated.
victory is in sight.
Our team depends upon you. Enemy battleship foundered.